district attorney has a mill down there, and they run them through, and then they end up incarceration. Now they've got a felony. Now they got some.
Now you can't vote. Now you can't own a firearm. You probably can't get a job.
And so now
you're a bum.
Now we're going to go get Foxconn to give them jobs. We're going to get a $50,000 a year job.
Well, speaking of a right to privacy, ours is over right now because the camera is running. So welcome back to Talking Racine. Here for public exposure, Mr. George Myers.
Morning.
Mr. Jim Spodek.
Morning.
And myself, Dr. Ken Jorgen. Well, gentlemen, we had a lot of fun last week, and we got some serious stuff here today. And it has to do with a device that the sheriff's office has acquired, a thing called Cellebrite. It comes from Israel and the Israeli Defense Forces and the Israeli police. I don't know if there's a difference between the police and the defense forces over in Israel, but I know that they are very capable and very willing to crack down on people that they think are doing things wrong. And now the technology, one of the technologies that they use over there and developed over there, has now come to Racine County. And without a great deal of discussion, the county board has approved purchasing this piece of equipment. The only people that really spoke out against it were Fabi Maldonado and Nick Dembski, the two youngest guys on the board, two of the newest members of the county board.
Yep.
And they're the only ones that seem to have any questions. You know, I mean, this thing is capable of extracting all kinds of information out of your cell phone, virtually everything that's on your cell phone. And there's some real questions about how it's going to be used, which is what Nick and Fabi were asking. How is this going to be used? When is it going to be used? Where is the data going to be stored? How is it going to be retrieved? So on and so forth. And a lot of those questions weren't answered. And another big question, which is big for me, and I know it is for you guys too, is there going to need to be a search warrant for this? Now, my understanding is that, and maybe I'm wrong, but my understanding is that they can capture information off of your phone if they're just close to you.
Right.
That's pretty disturbing to me.
Well,
because, you know, and it's not that I'm worried about getting caught doing something wrong. I don't want somebody invading my personal space. I don't care if it's law enforcement or who it is.
I mean, I think it's way, way, way over the top of Racine County to have this kind of equipment and prowling, as far as I'm concerned, the streets looking for criminals, and that's exactly what this stuff will do. You know, they're going to have it controlled. It's only the good people that are going to be able to use it. There's some real, as far as I'm concerned, it says, ask if it needs to be a warrant. I don't know what's this guy,
Madrigal.
It depends. Well, they don't even know. I mean, you're
depends
talking
on
about
what?
Yeah,
what's the protocol?
Right.
It should be probable cause. I mean, they've watered that down to reasonable suspicion through the
Exactly.
years, and now it depends.
Well, one of the questions I have is, where's the rest of the county board? You got two of the youngest members of the county board, who are probably a little green behind the ears, are the ones asking these questions. When I think in this article it talks about Robert Miller, Supervisor Robert Miller said the sheriff's office should have the technology to match the criminals it's fighting. I mean, come on.
Well, what have the criminals got that in any way?
Well, it approaches this,
compares to this.
This is a totally different type of technology. Typically, when I see them getting their vests, you know, and maybe better guns or something like that, But when you're going into a technological thing that enables the police to delve into your private lives, I mean, there's a lot of information on your cell phone other than what you might be doing that's against the law that they have just no business getting into.
Well, one thing they talked about is that it would take far less time to retrieve data from an electronic device than it currently does, because they got to send it off to the lab in Madison, and I don't know, it took like 6 weeks or 6 months or something crazy.
Okay. So what they've survived with that before.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So what? You have to wait to get that information.
Yeah.
So we've got
you need it instantaneously.
But if that's what they're doing, if they're saying, well, this is evidence, and then they go and extract the information, that's one thing. But if they're just like routinely extracting it and searching for something that anybody might be doing wrong,
and where do they get that
really
information? Where do they go with this information? I mean, where do they go and take this technology, and let's just say what neighborhoods are we prowling?
Yeah, exactly.
You know? I mean, are we targeting them? Who's the compliance officer? Where are the privacy rights?
And where's our data on your use of this material?
Right.
I mean, can we go and find out where you've been deploying it and what purposes you're putting it to?
I don't see any problem with the public being able to monitor the police.
Absolutely.
I just don't. And we have some monitoring of them when we see them driving down the streets and stuff. We think, okay, they're doing all right. They can't do crazy things. And if they sit over and park and goof off, citizens have to see them. So we monitor them. You're being monitored, police. But when you get into areas where they don't want to be watched, and we should be able to, monitor if they find a cell phone, let's say on a crime site, okay.
Yeah.
Find it. But now let's get a court order. Let's get some kind of a judicial proceeding before you're allowed to go into it. It might have nothing to do with anything. It might belong to the mother-in-law that was gone an hour ago and forgot and left it there. Mm-hmm. But let's have at least a hearing on it and find out whether the police should be going and investigating, not just automatically getting it because you got the thing on your car and you can suck it out of there.
And develop a protocol for its use.
Exactly.
A policy.
Exactly.
And a question was asked.
Well, that's where this comes up. What if the department needs to get a warrant? Madrigal said when asked if the department needs a warrant, and he said it depends. Like you said, it depends. I haven't heard that argument since I was in the schoolyard.
Yeah.
Because they don't have an answer.
Well, it depends.
That's why, George. They don't have an answer. There's no protocol. I mean, if you go into the corporate world, which the city and the county should be starting to work their way into it, there's compliance officers, offices that they have to monitor. There's a lot of monitoring internally that goes on. A lot of the stuff I read, when I read some of they monitor themselves. There's internal monitoring. No, that's bull crap.
That's the worst kind of monitoring.
Yeah,
There's
absolutely.
always a reason why you're doing something.
Yes.
If you're just accepting your own viewpoint,
Well, here's something that...
so you need somebody else's viewpoint if you're really going to monitor it.
Here's something that County Board Supervisor Dembski said. I've heard from a lot of people... Oh, wait. I hear this from individuals. I hear this from organizations. I've heard it from other elected officials about the accountability with a device like this. I bring all of this up, this issue of accountability. It's not something that I can prove or not if this is an issue with the Sheriff's Department. What I know is I keep hearing it over and over and over again when I'm talking to people and organizations in my district. They're concerned about the police being accountable. So, I mean, you hear all
good news.
That is good.
How many videos have you seen on YouTube and so on and so forth where there's a police action taking place where maybe they're arresting somebody and a citizen comes up with a camera and starts filming, and the officer will come over and tell him to put the camera away and actually kind of bully him a little bit, and sometimes more than a little bit.
Okay.
But my question to that, my response to that is, where is it? It's a quote by one of the officers themselves. If you are innocent, what do you have to hide?
Boy, there's
There you go.
So,
Yeah, let's turn the table on them.
yeah.
If you got nothing to hide, let's...
yeah, there you go. Yeah. How about on them, right?
You should be proud of your work. I'm proud of my work,
Yeah.
You should be proud of your work. You should realize that if a citizen is taking a film of you while you're on your job, that could serve as evidence of the fine work you're doing as much as anything else. And why wouldn't you want them to carry that film back to their family, friends, and neighborhood and say, we got good cops here. Look at the way you handled this.
Yeah, that's good.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I think the police chief wants to get these monitors on the car. It's already there where they monitor. They turn it on when the officer's making even a traffic stop.
Yeah.
So it does get recorded, and you should have no problem with that.
No, none whatsoever.
Companies do it. Banks, a lot of places do it where they have internal
Truck drivers
monitors.
are all
Yeah.
GPS.
Yeah.
I mean, even I think our garbage trucks are GPS. For crying out loud, our garbage cans got GPS monitors on it for crying out loud, or tags. I mean, no.
And I'm sure that the response could very easily be, we're dealing with a private citizen here, and you're violating their rights by taking a film. Well, that's really easily addressed. You go to that private citizen that's being filmed in the process of being arrested and say, do you mind if this citizen over here takes a film in this process? I wonder how many of them would say, no, I don't want to be on camera. Or how many would say, thank you, yes.
There's a lot of song and dance goes on when it comes to transparency in the in police departments. But let's take it one step further. We've got some information that was given to us as far as some scanning that was done and how that worked out.
Oh, there's the license plate scanning you're
Yes.
talking about, yeah.
No.
So this is kind of
Well,
a
explain. No, explain. I did not realize this was going on in Racine at this time.
Yes.
But apparently, police going down the street. Well, they can scan the license plates across, going
both ways, behind you, in front of you, sideways.
Okay.
Parking lot, they can pull all the license plates. It shows up on there.
If it's visible for an instant to the
Right.
camera,
Right.
it's captured.
So these
or
are-
it can
this
be.
is
And,
monitored.
and that can immediately track into records of the person that owns the vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what and it doesn't go too far into their personal life other than
Well, it gets a
with
hit.
Department of
I think
Motor
it gets a
Vehicles.
hit if there's a motor vehicle or if there's a warrant or if there's something.
Oh, yeah.
They
Oh,
can
so it
find
does
that.
go into a warrant,
Yeah.
doesn't
Oh, yeah,
go
I
into
think
a-
so. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Outside of just the traffic thing,
Oh,
you
yeah.
can
Well, I
also
think-
if you have a outstanding parking, not not use parking ticket, let's say,
Or if
take-
you're-
Well, it could be a parking
Yeah.
ticket.
yeah, or drunk and disorderly or something like that.
Right.
That has nothing to do with traffic. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
No.
So you can get into all your.
So
your
what
court
happened
records.
here is Ricky Jarstead, who we've actually had on the show, did a open records request to the Racine Police Department and asked how many times his personal vehicle, car, was his license plates were scanned.
Scanned and located. Because
And
they,
located.
Yeah, they
And-
marked
and
down
when they
located.
were.
When, where, or was.
Right.
Right.
So apparently there were, now I didn't get through all of it, but apparently there were, I believe there were 13 times that they scanned them.
I thought there was more than that. I thought it was 16, but it doesn't
Well, it
matter.
doesn't
I
matter.
mean,
Somewhere in there, but they actually came in and they actually found out that they scanned his vehicle 13, 16 times within this period of time. And he
Yeah,
went to the,
16 times between 2014 and 2018. Now listen, once during 2014, 3 times in 2015, 3 more times in 2016, and 5 more times in 2017. So
they're getting better.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're getting better. But he went to the police department. He asked for those records on October the 24th of 2018. Apparently, he did not receive the records until February the 15th of 2000, or February 14th of 2019. Did a little checking and found that the police department did the records request the same day. They sent those to the city of Racine,
City Attorney's office, yeah.
city attorney's office. They held him for 4 months.
Our favorite guy, city attorney.
Amazing.
So I just, before we move into this a little further, because there's more to that story, but when we talk about who's in control of the records, where's the compliance,
Yeah.
where's the privacy, who is the actual custodian, let's say, of your personal records?
And that's the type of stuff.
So that's when you talk about, well, it's only going to be good people that are going to handle it. Obviously not. Because now we've got a case here where it's held up for 4 months in an attorney's office because they were busy. This is one of the questions.
Now, what if Ricky had been the subject of an investigation?
Correct.
And this information would exonerate him because it would show that he, at least his vehicle,
Right.
was somewhere else at the time of the whatever crime he was being confronted with or charged with. Then he would need this information. So to withhold it is irresponsible, I think.
Well, he then asked, was there, how is this handled? Is it kept? Apparently,
Yeah.
it came into indefinitely from the police department, and the assistant attorney, there are no safeguards are in place to protect Racine's residents' privacy. There are no
Wow.
safeguards.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah. So
And-
that
and
was
that's-
sent
and
from the
that's something
attorney's
we
office.
should be concerned about.
Yeah. So now this, again, it was held up. Of course, it's this typical routine. You know, we've got so many records requests, and we've done a show on that. And again, that's all bogus too. So if you know, I used to have to say it: if their mouth is moving, they're lying. You know, and it really comes down to that attorney's office has got some real issues out there as far as open records, and they really need to be called to task on. And this just shows it again. The police department was diligent, and they got the records out. The attorney's office held it for 4 months, and their excuse was,
And I remember Ricky talking about this when it was in the process, and he was kind of upset with the police department because that was his initial contact.
right.
He went and requested records, and it was like months later he still hadn't had them. And it turns out it was a city attorney.
Right. So
What was their excuse for, computer records are so fast to extract and send off. It's not. We're way beyond the day where you have to search through files, bring them out, make copies, get them in the mail, that type of stuff.
Well,
That can be
their
expensive.
excuse was there was a map. It was a map on where these hits were on his license plates were, and they were afraid that that map, releasing that map with that information, they were concerned that there would could potentially be a stalking.
Right.
I mean,
yeah.
but
Yeah, they were
Here we go.
protecting
yeah,
him.
they're
Now
protecting.
we're digging
Does
deep.
this supersede open records? Does this supersede your right to know, George?
Right.
You know? I
yes.
mean, this is, again-
someone might.
Right.
You
Someone
know,
might.
It's possible.
Right.
And
And if
that's,
someone's going
that's
to
a
stalk
big-
someone, they aren't going to go to the police department and ask for records. Where does this guy hang out so I can
Yeah.
stalk him? You know,
Yeah,
it's just, again, it's another level of secrecy in City Hall and perpetrated by the office. Of,
I can see some arguments for some secrecy, but almost anyone that I've ever heard, there's a counterbalancing greater argument for openness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is if you're going to abuse people, from the standpoint of government, you have to keep your activity secret.
Yep.
You cannot just let it open of how you're going after this person over here, and we're going to take care of Joe Blow over there. But once it gets open, there might be some reasons to keep information like that secret. But once it gets open, all of a sudden you find out the abuse of people it drops dramatically because they can't do it anymore because everybody would know about it.
Well, there's a big question in Racine because the incarceration rate for African Americans is so much higher. Is there inequitable enforcement?
That's a good question.
It is.
Damn good question.
And it could be found out.
Yeah.
Absolutely
It's out
could be
there,
found
if
out.
someone wants to investigate it. Now, unfortunately, the three of us, we've done a lot of investigating. But if
Yeah.
anybody out there is interested in something like that, or anything, or you'd like to find out what is government doing, or even if it's with this Cellebrite phone thing,
Start asking
let us
questions.
know. Because
We'll get you a junior investigator's badge and a tin hat.
We got 3 tin hats sitting right back here.
No, but we have people that can help with open records requests.
Absolutely.
We can help with various other technologies.
Yeah.
But they can't do it all. But they can certainly assist someone who really wants to know about it. So if you have some interest like that,
A lot of
okay,
people
make
don't
contact.
know exactly how much is available to them. Anything that's in the public record is public. And if you have a need for it for whatever reason, you have a right to it.
And the other thing is, we attack the city's attorney's office on a regular basis, and for good reason. But if they would cooperate with the citizens, it would be so much easier.
Oh, my goodness.
And you would have a more harmonious relationship, and the community would be better. When you have this sense of distrust, it only is going to cause more distrust. And that's what you've got here. When the mayor receives the no friend of open government, the city attorney, no friend of open government, that's a distrust level that, now you have to overcome that. Apparently, they don't care that much, so they'll double down on it, insulate themselves with more city employees, hide themselves, and just continue to manipulate. But eventually, that comes to an end. That does come to an end. Anytime that it continues to deteriorate, at the end, you do end up losing. Right does win in the end.
The end is pretty.
I hope it happens before we die.
Yeah, very lousy way to get the. We'd rather, stop it before it gets to that.
Right. 4 months for this is unacceptable. And how much? Again, the other thing is, we bring it up a lot, is the incarceration rate. When you have a little community like this with the incarceration rate the way it is, I always say it. You've built a machine. I watch it. I watch this machine generate bodies through the system to create income for the system, and the system lives well off it. I've been in multiple rooms where I look at some poor individual that's having obviously had some issues, and he's sitting there with an attorney that's appointed to him, making very little money, in a room with people that are making over $100,000 a year, and we're going to help and we're going to oversee this. And I look at this and I think everyone in this room is well paid, living a good life. This poor individual obviously had some issues, but is giving the minimal representation. And Yeah, very unacceptable. And then what happens is they run them through a mill, and it is a mill, and a district attorney has a mill down there, and they run them through, and then they end up incarceration. Now they've got a felony. Now they got some.
Now you can't vote. Now you can't own a firearm. You probably can't get a job.
And so now
you're a bum.
Now we're going to go get Foxconn to give them jobs. We're going to get a $50,000 a year job.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Foxconn, there's going to be some renegotiation, or there's been a call for renegotiation.
Yes.
Now, we talked about this a little bit last week, and it turns out that it's Foxconn and Terry Gow that came to the governor's office, or to the assembly, I'm not sure which, and requested that some renegotiation take place. Well, we thought all along that the figures that they were projecting were pretty much pie in the sky, that it was really more of a more foreplay than it was actual substance.
Yep.
Get everybody all excited and get the process rolling, and then once we're deep enough into it, and there's a big commitment made, and the dirt's all turned over, and the roads are tore up, well, then you can start talking about what we really need is. Mm-hmm. And like you said before, it's a tail wagging the dog at this point.
Yeah. Now it's the art of war, and you saw it coming. I mean, I just want to read a couple things. They were going to earn $23.02 an hour, $47,000 a year. There was going to be full-time employees averaging $25.90 an hour, $54,000 a year. There would be 100% individual health insurance, dental, vision coverage, and 50% of family insurance. Employees would get 10 holidays per year, life insurance, and a 401k. That was all what Foxconn was going to do. Now they're at the table, back at the table. But it's the perfect scenario for Foxconn.
Oh, yeah.
They created this. They want to say Foxconn put all this money. Foxconn's got a great deal to get that money back. It's a no money down deal for Foxconn.
Yeah.
They came in. Now all this money's being spent. The politicians are on the hook. If Foxconn walked away now, they'd be running for the hills, these politicians. It's life or death for them right now. So they got to cut a deal. They've got to cut something to make this thing happen. And they're saying, well, the taxpayer's protected. How's he protected? He just spent $900 million.
Yeah.
Well, how's that protection? You took away the land. I mean,
the only protection that they allegedly have is that if Foxconn does not create the jobs to the level that they said they will, and at the benchmarks that they said they would create them by, then they will not be eligible for the tax credits. But the tax credits really,
I called it low-hanging fruit. That's exactly what it was. We called it last week low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Terry Gao and the Taiwanians are coming in to grab that money. And
but the tax credits are really a zero sum because they don't get them unless they create a liability.
Listen, Doc, anything's on the table now. You got a politician over there.
Wait. Listen, Doc.
They got politicians there, and they're. This was all a political move in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're stuck with this $900 million from the local area here that's spending the money. They're stuck. And
listen,
Taiwan
Jim,
knows.
it's more than 900 million. We're up to about a billion
and a half.
Yeah.
I know. But what I'm saying is, Foxconn is in control of this now. They're in control of the negotiations. It's no longer the state. It's no longer Mount Pleasant. It's done. They've tipped over. The tipping point is done.
They begged their way into this position.
Right.
They begged their way in.
The Chinese and other foreign people that negotiate with our politicians, I think they all know that when Americans come to the table, they're elected where we aren't, type of thing. I'm talking about as a foreigner. So what they know is that the American is expected by the people that elect him to come up with a result.
Yep.
Yeah.
See, and they can't just walk away from the table and say no deal. So at any rate, that is the situation we're in right now. In other words, it's probably to be the best overall for us to just walk away from it. To say,
I agree.
That's enough. That's enough.
Because this deal is...
Either Foxconn does this, or else if they're not going to do anything, fine, they can walk away from it.
Right.
No, wait a minute. That just seems to be a departure from what you said last week. You were in favor of playing it out. Just let it play out.
Oh yeah. I'm just saying, but that's the no more deals. No more deals.
Okay. All right.
This is the deal.
Okay.
And if Foxconn's going to walk away from it, that scares the hell out of politicians,
Oh.
because American politicians, the people at the negotiating table, are expected by their electors to come up with a result. That's all I'm saying. And that is a weakness on our part, where on the other side, they aren't elected.
Yeah.
They're generally totalitarian type countries. I mean, I know there's some with election, but a lot of them are not. Korea, China, this type of thing, and so they don't face such a barrier,
Backlash.
and they know it. They know when they come to the table that their people sitting across from the table does have a problem with just walking away from it.
Right.
And I think that's what Foxconn is looking at. The Americans can't just walk away from it.
Well, these foreign countries do have elections.
Some do.
But if you're the only guy running.
Yeah, that's right. And I know some of them are pretty bad. Yeah, the Soviet Union's had elections for decades. So what?
You don't have to prove too much if nobody's running against you.
Again, I think you've got these the tail's wagging the dog now. So
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, don't negotiate at all. Stop. Start thinking about what other alternatives we have now for that amount of money that's out there. I mean, it's not going to develop. It's not going to happen. And they're only going to
could we stop the Highway K expansion if that?
I don't know.
That's part of
probably
this
contracts out there.
$1 billion. You think we was because I was just saying that'd be an example of hundreds of millions,
Right. Stop.
tens of millions anyway, that
Yeah.
we wouldn't have to spend if Foxconn, because that was all about Foxconn.
Right.
And we should know whether they're
I
going
mean, you've got a corridor now on I-94. It's a big chunk of land. I mean, maybe Foxconn will come in and do some small things, but I wouldn't be betting on that. I would be betting on the fact that if you come in with some jobs, we'll work with you. But I'd start looking for other companies.
Yeah, it could just become a large industrial park.
Yeah.
Now he's talking negotiating. So maybe maybe that was just a political campaign ploy. And
But
he really
there's a
does
lot
have
of
something.
Democrats that were in on this early on. That
That's
said,
right.
they environmental. Well, forget that. I mean, Corey Mason was
Mason
at
was
the table.
involved.
He's up
So
to his neck in it.
we're not going to throw. I'm going to throw my fellow Democrats out the window with the bathwater. I mean, he's not going to do that. So now
And that could be an actual possibility. So
Yeah,
some consider
absolutely.
his mayorship for the Democrat Party pretty darn important.
Yep.
So another question here is the project in trouble? And
I'd say the project is definitely in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how to say which side is in trouble. Maybe both sides are in trouble. I know our side. I think Mount Pleasant's in horrible trouble.
Yeah.
well, yeah, they're in jeopardy.
If they have to
They're
divvy
definitely
up that
in
$1 billion deficit and pay it off amongst them, they're going to get to join anybody else in on it over the next, whatever it is,
But
20 years.
it's not just them; it's the whole county. If they go under, then
The whole county's
then the
going to be
county's on the
responsible
hook.
for some of that,
Yeah.
and the state.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing: I don't think Foxconn's in trouble. I think they're in the driver's seat. I mean,
Yeah.
you got them all.
They're really not very heavily exposed.
No, not at all. I mean, like I said, Tony Gao alone is worth $7.6 billion. Even if he's invested $100 million, that's chicken feed.
Yeah.
There's nothing. It's a no money down deal for this guy.
No,
and he's got a
7.6 million would be 1/10 of 1%.
Yeah, billion. Yeah, I mean it's nothing. So I mean, if it was his own personal money,
Very
which it
much,
probably
yeah.
is not. But what I'm saying is, Foxconn is now in charge. Foxconn is, and politicians.
Well,
are
they
trying-
were all along.
Yeah, but
in
it
actuality.
was. But they came in, they cut this deal, and they
They
knew,
were courted. Boy,
Yep.
everybody wanted Foxconn.
Yeah, they.
Well, I still recall that he
Yep.
came in. They were going to set up a thing for 4,000 employees or something, and Scott Walker said, "Well, I really need 10."
Yeah, I mean it was such a
You need
plan.
10? We'll give you 13.
Well, yeah, we'll give you 13. I mean, it's
Says
like,
so right on the napkin
oh,
here, 13.
on a second,
And I mean, when you got a couple of this, when Voss and Fitzgerald talking about, what's a lock tight for the taxpayer, we've got them protected. You've got $1.5 billion invested on a company that's lukewarm at this point. And their political livelihood is at stake, including some of the Democrats. There's big issues here.
There are big issues here. The three of us did a little chart one time and showing the
Yeah.
risk involved, and that was just on our own. You throw in all the information that we got from newspaper articles and the studies and how you deal with these foreign companies and that stuff like that. It was really, really risky.
Yeah, very risky.
To say that the taxpayer was covered is just not there. It was covered in the tax rebate. I
Yeah,
agree with
but that's
that.
it. But
Because there was
that's it.
going to be no rebate unless there
Right.
was a tax deficit.
But now they're going to give. Now
But-
watch and see.
But
That's the
roads
low
and
hanging
stuff
fruit.
and people's homes,
Yeah.
property.
Oh my gosh! It's,
That'll be what they want to change.
and here's the other thing: you've got politicians now. It's talking Racine. Okay, oh geez, those guys are they're crazy. But the whole country's watching this project. This is
Yeah.
big news. This
Yeah.
is all over, and they're watching Racine County. So these politicians are sitting out there like sitting ducks, and they'll do whatever it takes. And to hell, the taxpayer, that doesn't mean anything. Their political livelihoods on the line now. Once those roads are being built, those truck drivers are off there. There's no more dirt to move, and the roads are all in, and everything's there. And all of a sudden, the bill comes due. Watch out.
We talked a little bit before about what it is that we're trying to do here. We're trying to open up government. We feel that the government needs to be available to the public. You need to be able to go and see what your elected officials and the people that work for you are doing at any point in time, whether they're serving your best interests. We're concerned with that. We know that a lot of you are. You wouldn't be watching this show if you weren't concerned with that. So feel free to get in touch with us because, we're trying to build a team where people can really respond to the things that we recognize as problematic in this community and address them and correct them and create a better place for us all to live. This should be just a safe, friendly community. It doesn't have to be the top 10 city in 10 years, which was a ridiculous concept and never came to fruition. It's got to be is a good place for you to live and raise your kids and for you to be safe. And that's what we're after. And one of the primary things in creating that is to know what in the heck the government is up to. They should not be pulling the wool over your eyes. You guys got anything to add to that?
I would say it's not going to be done by the three of us.
Right.
No.
On that, we really need not only your cheer.
We could, George, because we're
yeah.
powerful.
I don't know if we got enough time to uncover anything to cover.
Collectively, I don't think
But
we have
at the same point, there are some people that we're working with, and we're setting it up so that if anybody wants to come in and get something done, it's possible to do.
And it's fun to do the right
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys
it's
have
not gonna-
noticed, but we enjoy doing this.
Yeah, and it's not going to take up all your time.
No.
It's just going to take up a little bit of time to take an interest in something and be the kind of the focal point for pushing it through. You're going to have other people helping you push it through. So that's the
Right.
thing. There's something that can be done about all this. This is not a lost cause.
I
by any
guarantee
means.
you'll feel good.
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
get something like this done.
There can be. We can make a good future for this.
Absolutely,
like you
and I
said.
think as time rolls on here, when you talk about a group of people, we're just putting that together, and we're going to bring it up, and we're going to have it on the show here, and we hope to have some people from that group come on our show and
Yeah, that'd be
discuss
cool.
all the issues
Yeah.
and how you can help.
All right, there you go. There's your little pep talk for the day. Appreciate you being here. We'll see you next week, I hope. Thanks.